I think we're recording.
Okay.
Um, okay, if you would again tell me a little bit about who you are, where you work, and what you do.
Okay. My name is Pam Stewart. I work for the Ross County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I'm the SSA manager. So, service and support administrators are the case managers for individuals who receive developmental disability services through a waiver or through the county board. So, we case manage and coordinate all the services for them for their entire lives. Um, I've been in the field for 24 years. I've done a lot of different things. I did work in day programming and supported employment at one time. So supported employment is kind of something that I have a heart for.
Very good. Um, so a little bit about the Ross County Board of Developmental Disabilities. That's something they're diagnosed with before the age of 22, correct?
Yes.
And then so we're working from, it looks like a very small age into independent living, hopefully. Is that the goal?
Yes, we provide birth to death services. So as long as someone has a qualifying diagnosis that occurred before age 22, they would receive our services.
So what do you think if you do a like an independent living plan or a transition plan, what are some of the key goals typically in that?
Um, for someone to live independently, it looks different for each person. So that's going to be some people living independently means that they live on their own with drop-in supports where they have someone that comes and helps them do grocery shopping and cleaning their home. And then the rest of the time they can live by themselves or with roommates. Other people, independent living might mean that you just don't live at home with mom and dad, but you're living in a home with two or three roommates and you guys have a support person there 24/7. That's still considered independent living. Some individuals may have remote supports that assist with their independence and assistive technology. That's a big push right now that we're looking at to make people more independent and be able to live more independently. We can give them tools that help them if they need them. So you might have someone that can't administer their own meds all the time. So they have a med machine that will dispense those meds for them. So that way they don't have to have someone come in the house and give them the medications. Or you could have someone that can be home alone and live alone and live independently, but needs extra support emotionally. So they have remote supports that they can call and talk to at any time if they need something. It depends on the person what independent living looks like, and we set up plans for them, person centered, according to their needs, so they can be as independent as possible.
Glad you mentioned that person centered. So what does that mean to you?
Being person centered means looking at the individual, what their needs are, what the needs of their family is, and building their plan around those needs. So each person is different, each diagnosis is different. You might have two different people with the same diagnosis, but they need totally different supports. So it's just building their support system around what their needs are.
And that's a
And
strength based model, correct?
yes, and not just their needs, but their wants and desires and how they want their life to look.
Yeah, it's like a holistic strength based approach to independence. Um,
Yes.
it's kind of what we've been reading about. I have not worked. I mean, I kind of work in the field. I haven't experienced. I work with Hopeton Village. So I have a lot of the people that are in assisted living, and of course, like the first three floors of that are assisted living, and then we're trying to get some. The goal is to get them to like the fourth floor. So uh, that doesn't happen very often because a lot of them are elderly, but I have had some
Right.
that would have developmental disabilities that were on assisted living. But some of them, a lot of them can maintain their independence with some help.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you mentioned assistive technologies, and I'm going into the CRC field and coming into work accommodations and independent living. What are some of the growth in the field that you've seen as far as like assistive technology coming around?
Oh, there's all kinds of things so we have a smart home that you can tour that our so-called keeps there or for our district. So there's all different kinds of the doorbells that of course like regular ring doorbells or We've got sensors for stoves. So if someone wasn't able to cook but by themselves, now they can, because they might just forget to turn the stove off when they're done. So the sensor will go off and they know to turn the stove off. And it connects to remote support. So someone can come on and say, hey, you left the stove on. We've got bed sensors. So if someone has seizures and they would have needed like 24/7 supports before because they might have a seizure, the bed can sense that and alert the remote support person, and then they can call someone. So someone doesn't have to be with that person 24/7. Just the things that Apple Watches can do for people now. I mean, you can set reminders. It can track seizures. It can track anybody who has health related things that would have needed monitored by a person before, they can be monitored through those. And then our assistive tech companies, anytime a team comes up with something and they need a solution, they'll go out and look for that solution in assistive tech. So it's very person-centered too. And it's constantly growing. I'm just trying to think of examples off the top of my head, but a lot of times people weren't able to live on their own before, and they can now because there's so many different things that a smart home can do. Like I've had individuals that are quadriplegic, but they can get lights that turn on by voice command, ceiling fans that turn on, just giving them those kinds of independence that they never had before.
Do you think that's like, is that empowering to see when you see somebody that, like you said, like paraplegic, to go from like 24-hour home care to having a smart home that sounds like it's pretty much custom designed to them?
Oh, yes. It's very empowering. And I mean, it's just amazing to see how people grow the more independence that they have.
Now, kind of focused on independent living. We might come back to that, but how does that help when you're doing transitioning into supported employment?
So that's a thing. We just had an adaptive system company come in and present to our all staff meeting last week. And that was what I was asking them. Are you able to come in and do these types of assessments for people at the job site and see what can make them be more independent working also? And of course, their answer was yes. They could come in and see it's all person centered to that person. So if someone's struggling with a certain aspect of their job, they can come in and see if some kind of technology would be able to replace having a support person there with them, like a job coach all the time.
Yeah.
So that would be person centered with the assistive tech, just what they need and what kind of solution can come up with that. Because a lot of our individuals, our supportive employment services are having a job coach or someone that drops in and checks periodically, or making those natural supports on the job that do those that make it supportive employment also.
Can you give me like an example per instance of, without saying names, of course, but maybe like a case of like what kind of job that they might have, and then what kind of accommodations that you've been successful with?
I'm trying to think. So we have a program that is through the Ross County Board of DD, the Pickaway County Board of DD, Pickaway Ross Joint Vocational Center, and it's a transitional work program for kids, and it's called Project Search. And in Project Search, they do
The kid
internships.
that's in that.
Oh, okay.
He
They do
works at the hospital in Circleville.
Burger Hospital, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm on the advisory committee for that. I sit on the advisory committee for that, and we've used different technology there for kids. We get them watches so that they know they can set them for a certain time. They know they have this amount of time to do a task, and once that goes off, they know to move on to the next task on their list. We've used different. Well, they all have a job coach, but they all share the same job coach. So we've used different. Trying to think of other things we've done for kiddos there.
I know the one that I have, he has arranged transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody comes and gets him at a specific time.
We use Ross County Transportation to transport our individuals back and forth to Burger. Yeah, supportive. Most of our individuals that have employment in the community we arrange transportation for them. And if they don't have a waiver service that pays for that, then the county board pays for that. All the kids at Project Search we pay for.
So what kind of job tasks, say just at Burger, might they have? And then what kind of like on the job accommodations might come with that besides a
Okay,
job coach?
right. So the job tasks that they do, they are in different sections of the hospital each quarter. So we have someone that's in the kitchen learning how to do food service. We have someone that's in stocking that goes all over the hospital to floor to floor and stocks all of their supply cabinets. We have people that work in surgery and they sterilize the equipment and do all of those kinds of things. So each job is set up with the steps broken down and very teachable small pieces, and they're gradually worked into that until they learn that job for that quarter. There is a job coach that floats around to each student. We have 6 students there now, and there's a job coach that does, and the teacher. So we have an instructor and a job coach always on site with them. Each job is broken down, like I said, according to what that student needs. So some students can take on more of the role and some just learn some parts of each job. As far as accommodations, it's all very person-centered and what that student needs. Most of the things there you're going to see are with the job coach working with the students and with the teacher working with the students. But our teacher is very innovative and she can find ways to teach that these kids learn more than I've ever seen anyone before. She's really great with them.
It
So
sounds almost like an internship, like
yes,
they just kind of rotate.
yep.
Now, is there a cap on the time that they can stay in this program?
It's a 9-month program, so it's their last school year ever. If they graduate from that, they're done with high school.
And have you had any success with job placement after that?
98% of our students are placed after it.
Wow,
Yep.
that's
Yep. They all
impressive.
learn very transferable skills into any job. And Burger likes to hire our students. So a lot of them are hired, at least 1 to 2 students each year are hired by Burger as full-time employees with full-time benefits and very good pay. So, and the other students we've had, if they've chosen that they don't want to work at Burger or in any of those fields, then OOD, so Opportunities for Ohioans with Developmental Disabilities, they go to, they work with them to find job placement. And so we have a 98% placement rate after school. And we start all through the year. We do job interviews and we work with them on their resume writing skills and all of that. So when they graduate in May, they should have a job to go to.
Wow. Um, I was just doing I guess I had to write a paper on a TED Talk, and they said that unemployment rate for people with disabilities can be up to like 80%. So it sounds like you're doing an incredible job there with that mission. Is there any other programs besides Search that you work for with the supported unemployment, or it
We're
sounds like you
start
support them after they have their jobs as well?
Oh yes, so after someone is employed, we can bring opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities back in if they need retrained on a job, or if they get promoted, if their job duties change, and they can have a job coach come in and work with them again till they're able to do it independently. And we also always provide transportation to and from work for anybody that's employed. And then if the individual doesn't want to use opportunities, if they have a waiver, we can provide those same supports through their waiver. And we can also provide supports locally. So anyone that has a job, we try to do job retention. If there's an issue there, we ask the employers to contact us so we can come back in and help with that. And we also, if they decide, hey, I've been at TJ Maxx for 6 years, I want to do something different, help them find another job.
So is there certain employers that are more receptive to this, or like partnerships that you've developed within the county? I mean, it sounds like Burger, obviously, but
Yeah, Kroger's is a great employer for our individuals. Um, Chillicothe really has a lot of employers that we work with, but ones that I can think of that I know if we go in and we say, hey, we've got this person, they're ready to work and they'd be really great. Kroger's, TJ Maxx, we've had people at Gabe's that work really well with them.
I got one of your kids that works at a coffee shop.
Yep, yep. Paper City
Yep.
is very good to work with us. Um, we've got we've got an individual that works in the mayor's office downtown.
Oh,
We've
wow.
got, yeah, we've got people that work for ODOT and do cleaning at the rest areas. We've got individuals that work up at the ESC and do janitorial work. We've got individuals that work for us at the county board and the Pioneer School. We've got individuals at Kentucky Fried Chicken, Wendy's, Burger King. I mean, most places in Ross County, we have individuals working.
So the,
Retail or fast food.
um, so the goal is, I know a lot of them are probably still living at home, or the ones that I have still live at home. So like they get supported employment even before they gain independent living. Is that kind of the trend, or?
It just depends on what the person wants their goal to be. If we, because we meet with individuals and do a plan for a year. So we do a service and support plan that lasts them a year. When we do that planning, we come up with outcomes and goals that they want to achieve for the next year. Those goals and outcomes can change at any time during that year. But then we prioritize what's most important to them. Is it moving out on your own and living by yourself, or do you need a job first to be able to afford that? A lot of times you need a job first to be able to afford that. So then we're going to focus on, let's get you a job, get you steady income coming in. You're going to know what you can pay and your bills and for rent, and then look at moving out.
So that sounds like a collaborative treatment team. Who all would be involved in that?
So it would be the individuals, the SSA, the family, and any supports that they have already. And if they don't already have supports in place, it would be interviewing and finding paid supports that can help with those things. And opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities, that doesn't cost us anything, and it's not a waiver service. So that's always who we're going to go to first, because it's another funding source to do our employment.
What's example of a paid support?
So someone that provides homemaker personal care for someone that
Oh,
would
okay.
come in and do
Like the home
grocery
health care.
shopping, would do help them well and take them out and do things in the community. Then we also have day service providers. So they go where an individual could go on site to a day service provider, or they can do community-based day services where they go to different outings with day service providers. And then we also have like transportation providers. So those are the kind of paid supports and remote supports.
Um, what are some of the biggest barriers, I guess, for would it be accommodations for independent living? Like what are some of the things that you've ran into that are?
Our biggest barrier is housing right now. So finding affordable housing for people if they want to live independently, that's our biggest barrier. We have the supports and services we can put in place for anyone to live independently, but it's the cost of living and housing.
Now, would that fall under like Section 8, or like how is the housing funded?
Sure. Well, individuals who qualify, which most of our individuals could qualify for Section 8. They could qualify for Metro housing, but the wait lists are extremely long. So that takes a long time to get in. We also have what's called 811 housing that's available in individuals in Ross County for that's a subsidized housing, but there's a long wait list for that too. There's apartments here that take that. It's called 811. We have Metro housing, we have HUD housing, but all of those have wait lists. So for subsidized housing and any of the subsidized apartment complexes, it's just finding somewhere someone can afford. A lot of times we go through private landlords, and because we can't find subsidized housing, and people will have one or two roommates so that they can afford it.
So when a kid successfully graduates high school, this course is specifically geared towards transition planning for those with disabilities. Is Do you immediately go into the transition plan, or does the transition plan begin before they even graduate?
The transition plan begins at age 14. All IEPs in the state of Ohio have to have a transition plan in them starting at age 14. So the school system, the county board, opportunities for Ohio with disabilities, everyone should be working with that student and working towards a transition plan starting at age 14.
And that's individually based, but can you give me an example of some of the things that we might find on the transition
Where
plan?
you might see students having a plan that says they want to do Project Search as their transition service when they graduate. You might see them, having what kind of job they want to go into, what kind of field they want to do, and that OOD will help them find a job in that area. You might see that a student wants to go to college, and so like what supports would they need in order to do that? And OOD also helps provide supports in colleges for individuals. We have a lot of good colleges in Ohio that have very good supports in place. Wright State is the best in the state for that, for anyone with a developmental disability. It just depends on the person, what their transition plan is going to look like, but they take their likes, their interests, their dislikes, everything into consideration and put that in there. If they want to live independently when they graduate, that would be in there as a goal. Just so that IEP can bring everyone together that needs to be a part of it. So when they do graduate, there's a plan in place. Some of them are going to say, when they graduate, they want to go do day services. Well, first we're going to see, is this student able to work? Because we're a workforce state. So we're not going to automatically transition all of our kiddos into day services when they could be working in the community. So that's something that's changed over the last 10 years, is that now we're going to try to see who can and can't work, and they have to go through a series of, I would say, assessments to determine if you're saying, no, my child will never be able to work, we've got to have that assessment based, because we believe that everyone has the ability to contribute to their community and work.
Yeah, I think that's important, not just for the community, but for the individual. I think that some of the things I've run into is if they don't seemingly have a purpose, then
Yep. Everyone needs to feel like they have something that they're working towards.
So how does that work? Because the IEPs are written by the school, the intervention specialist. Do they incorporate you guys, like the SSAs, like
A
early in the
lot
process?
hopefully, a lot of times we'll be a part of those IEP meetings. We try to be. So if we have kiddos on our caseload, we'll ask the parents, when's the IEP meeting? And we'll try to always be a part of those so that we can be a advocate for the parents.
And you
We
guys
can
have a
make sure.
wide variety of schools, because you have some in kids that will be in public schools, and then you have some kids that will be in Pioneer. I don't know what Pioneer School's classified as exactly, but it's not a public school. Um, that's like a wide variety of, like you said, individual needs and abilities, really. I mean, of course, across the disability spectrum, you're going to run into that.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything. Can you think of anything we have not covered in, or that you would like to share? If I'm a CRC, do you work with CRCs at all?
So
Certified
when you say
Rehabilitation Counselors?
a certified rehabilitation counselor, so through, no, not really. I haven't, and that's probably because, I mean, when you're talking about that, I guess most people who are work for OOD are probably those, though. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
that's about the there and the VA are really, and they're kind of a unicorn. That's why I'm in the field. They're not, I think there's only 5 in the county
I was going to
right
say,
now.
so I think that yes, probably through OOD, the individuals that I work with that are the case managers there, that some of them are probably CRCs, but that's the only entity that we work with for that type of thing.
But it sounds like,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, you guys are kind of fulfilling what a CRC would do with the
Yes, we
finding
do what's,
accommodations, working with employers,
yep,
advocating for the client,
yep,
developing transition plans. Those are all things that would be within that field of scope.
yeah, and that's what we call that employment navigation on our end. So through DODD, there's a path to the place of employment, and it has each person you have to name what place that person is on each time you do their individual service plan, and then you have to set up supports and outcomes to help them reach their goal on that path. So they're either on place one where they have a job, place two, they don't have a job, but they want help finding a job, place three, they don't have a job, they don't know if they want a job, and place four is I don't have a job and I don't want a job. So each person has to be identified and assessed on which place on the path they're at, and then services and supports and outcomes have to be set up each year for how to get them where they want to be on that path.
You've mentioned assessments a couple times. What can you give me an example of some of the assessments that might be done? And are there several, and are they like physical assessments? I mean, I'm sure some of them are mental, but do they have like physical limitation assessments?
Well, so our assessment that we complete each year in the Ohio ISP is standardized across the state of Ohio, and it breaks everything down. It's got 6 different parts. So it's community living, you assess that, you assess daily life and employment, safety and security, healthy living, social, and like mental health safety.
Mm-hmm.
So you assess each area of their life and what they want supports in, and then you come up with the supports from that assessment, and that goes into their individual service plan. So
Okay.
it's an assessment that's a statewide template that we all use. And then we also have like the AAI, the acuity assessment for day programming. And then we have an assessment called a DDP, developmental disability profile, and then their level of care. So that's what we complete annually, all those different assessments to come up with what services and supports that they would need.
Okay. And then is are the jobs like based off those dimensions or where they fall in the different categories on their assessment? Is that where you figure out what jobs they would be suitable for, or how do you figure?
Well, whatever really, the assessment just gives us their likes and dislikes and then what's important for and important to them. So then the assessment, as far as like what kind of job they want, that's a different kind of an assessment that OOD would complete with them, or that a provider would come in and complete with them. So like they do, and the word is escaping me right now, job discovery,
Mm-hmm.
and then they write their employment plan with them.
So I'll use one of my clients for an example who probably should qualify for your services and doesn't work. But say I come in and I just all my anxiety is too high. I can't have a job and that kind of thing. Like, how would that go to try to convince that person that they could work or that they should work?
Well, I guess we would just work with them and their team to see how we can help their anxiety first. We're going to address that.
Yeah.
So we're going to address whatever boundaries you have in place, whatever barriers are in place. We're going to address those first. And then we're going to say, you've got a support person here with you. We can have a job coach there with you. Why don't you try it? And we can do job trials. And they can go and do on-site job trials and see if this is something they do like or they don't like or they could do or they couldn't do. So instead
Employers
of
are
saying,
pretty
yeah,
open to
we
that.
have yeah, OOD works with a lot of employers that let them come in and do that because they're getting free labor and free time work done, and we're just trialing people to see what they like and don't like.
Yeah. I bet a lot of employers would just like a 1 week trial before they hired anybody.
Yep.
Um, So we're at about out of time, or I mean, I could talk about this forever because I have a lot to learn. But um, as far as one of the things that I wanted to hit on the Ohio or the ADA Disabilities Act, like, is there anything specific in that act that helps you? And like, do you think that's also more, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of helps employers be more open to hiring people with disabilities? Like, do you think the impact of the ADA Act
I
has?
think ADA, yeah, I think ADA made a huge impact when it first happened. I think it's been around for a long time now, and that most employers are very good at accommodating, making those accommodations now. Um, I've never talked to an employer or had anyone who didn't want to make accommodations or didn't want someone to be successful in a role. Because individuals with developmental disabilities are the most loyal employees you'll ever have. They get a tax break for hiring employees with developmental disabilities, and they're happy to come to work every day. They're not just loyal, they love what they do and they're happy to come. And so employers generally, everyone I've ever worked with have been happy to make any accommodations that are needed. So
Great. And I don't know if you knew I work for Integrated Services, so I'm sure we have mutual. Uh, Sometimes we fill that support role. Sometimes I'm that support role, but
yeah,
I really appreciate you doing this and helping me out and educating me today. So
sure. If you need anything else, just let me know.
I'll take you up on that.
Right.
We'll stop recording.